Good morning, Sri Lanka. Welcome to the show on a bright and early Thursday morning. Now, I'm sure that all of you have woken up and there are so many things that you have to get done during the day. The children have to go to school and you might have to go to work as well, but it's great to have you on the show and I'm glad that you've tuned in. We have a great show lined up for you today. But when you think about all the little things that we do in our day-to-day life, now there are so many tasks that we have to accomplish during the day, but how many times do we stop and think about the environment around us and how each of our actions can affect that environment? Because I'm sure that while you're driving your car, you don't realize that you're consuming fossil fuels, and when you're in your office cubicle, you don't realize the amount of electricity that's used up by a light bulb. But these things are consumed, and all of these things add up to a certain toll that's there on our environment and on the earth at large. So this is why during the recent times, there are terms like climate change and global warming and sustainable development that have come up, and these are very valid terms right now because our resources are depleting very fast and all of these changes are happening in the environment around us. And as responsible citizens, these are things that we do have to be aware of because of the excessive production and the consumption of fossil fuels and all of these things. There are so many problems and new challenges that have come up, such as pollution and the depletion of non-renewable resources. So speaking about all of these topics, we have with us in the studio today 3 professionals. Now I'm not going to give you any advice about this. We have the best in the business right now for you to speak to you, and they are 3 chartered accountants. They've taken some time out of their busy schedules. They're here with us today, so let's welcome them onto the show. We have with us Mr. Chandan Edrisurya, who is a past president of the Sri Lanka Institute of Architects. It's great to have you on the show, sir. Good morning.
Morning.
And we also have Mr. Ravihansa Chandratilaka, who is the director of the Green Building Council of Sri Lanka.
Good morning.
And architect Michelle Fonseca, who is, besides being a chartered architect herself, she's also a lecturer in the subject. So it's great to have all of you on the show today. Welcome to the show. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Amar. And I'm sure that all of you have a jam-packed day that's going on ahead after this show as well. So it's great that you've come here and you've taken some time out to be with us.
Yeah,
all
of course.
So if we speak about, before we go into our topic for today, which is eco-friendly and sustainable design, let's speak about how you came into this profession. And maybe we can go ladies first. Michelle?
Yes, just to tell you, Amaya, I have my family's been in the construction industry for a long time. My dad and my grandfather, so walking in and out of construction sites was like second nature to me. And after my A-levels, I joined an architect's firm. And at that time, a new course in architecture started, private course, and so we were the first batch to join. And it was fun after that. I mean, it was a lot of work, but yeah, I enjoyed it.
Because I think being an architect takes about 7 years, 6 to 7 years.
It's 7 years for us.
It's a lot of hard
another
work.
year to do the charter, and but it was worth it.
Of course. All right, Mr. Edrisurya, what about you?
Yeah. In my case, I can remember that even before I did my A-levels, I was drawing pictures of houses, buildings, and all that. So after the A-levels, I felt that it's a good option for me, and I was selected to the University of Moratua, and it's as you know that it's about 6 years of education, and now after that we qualified as a chartered architect, and now here I am.
Here you are. So and you are definitely a veteran in the industry. Now you've been the past president of the Sri Lanka Institute of Architects as well. So you really are an experienced person in this field. So it's great to have you on the show as well. And Ravi, what about you now? How did you start out?
More or less same thing. I had an ambition from my childhood to join construction industry. But I got opportunity after myself selecting to Moratua University instead of Moratua. Therefore, that is the start point, yes.
Right. So I'm assuming that all of you are associated with the Sri Lanka Institute of Architects as well.
Yeah, we all are members of that. Yeah.
So how important has this particular institute been in the formation of your career and as a supporting institute?
In fact, I will put it this way. Now, when we do our academic part of education, we to qualify as a chartered architect, we need to qualify from the professional examination of the which is held by the Sri Lankan Group of Architects. We did that. We all have done that, and then only you qualify, and then you will be eligible to become a member of the Sri Lankan Group of Architects.
I see. So that's a process that anyone who wants to become a chartered architect has to go through. But now, right. Michelle, you are a lecturer, so I'm sure that you deal with a lot of budding young talent here in Sri Lanka as well. And when you the students that you've come across in your line of work, do you see any changes in what you see in them as opposed to how you started out when you were a student?
I would say that there are lots more students wanting to join architecture. Of course, they come first thinking that it's a glamorous profession and, you know, it's a breeze. But they soon find out there's a lot of hard work involved. But I guess that what we tell them is, you know, if you have a passion for it and a calling, I mean, you can enjoy yourself. Yes, there is hard work. But I think they quickly come down to earth in the first year. And then they begin to enjoy it. They do the hard work as well, and they enjoy.
Because having a passion for it is, I think, the most important factor starting out, and then you can sort of build up on that and have a great career.
That's right. Actually, now let's say take the other countries. If you take examples from other countries, like even Bangladesh, Italy, and even Pakistan for that matter, I see the other major trend that a lot of young people are willing to join architecture, right, as a career. And as I said before, though, it's very fashionable to do architecture, as Michelle says. But at the same time, it has it's a lot more than that. You know, a lot of training. It's a rigorous training, and it's 6 years. And you know, you have to cover a lot of areas. You'll have to learn a lot of things about you know, way of life, and how you can respond to them, those issues with your design and things like that. So all in all, it's a good I would say good profession, right? So we all have gone through the middle.
Actually, it's a combination of art and science, both.
I see. And this particular time, you know, this contemporary environment is, I'm sure, a great place, because as I mentioned earlier, there are so many new concepts that have come up, and this green home concept or the eco-friendly construction concept is something that's gaining a lot of momentum. So if I could just ask you now, creating good living conditions is a very important aspect when it comes to architecture. Actually, that's the most important aspect. But when you come to this new concept, what is sustainable and eco-friendly design? Ravi, if I could ask you?
Yeah, actually, this sustainability is not new. It was there for a long time. Actually, we are considering three aspects on the sustainability. One is environmental aspect. The other one is economic aspect and the social aspect. You combine all these three, something that means environmental friendly design and social acceptable design and something to do with economical design. That is, if you combine all these three, we call sustainable design. Eco-friendly in the sense it's something to do with minimum, virtually we can say minimum damage to the environment. That's what. Therefore, what we are trying to do is, when you are doing whatever the construction, we are trying to be more sustainable and we are trying to be more eco-friendly. That's what.
So if I could go into these three areas that you mentioned under sustainable design. Now, environmentally friendly means actually just a part of it, isn't it? And that is what we are going to speak about later on in the show as well. But if you could just touch on the social aspect of it as well as the economic aspect of it. Where does an architect come in, and what is the architect's role in catering to those areas as well?
Yeah. Take a building, let's say. We are primarily responsible as architect. We are primarily responsible for the built environment. So take a building. In order to get it built, first you'll have to come up with a design. So any building will stem from a design. So as architects, we have to be conversant as well as we'll have to be sensitive about these issues of sustainability. I think that's where we need an architect to have other tools, right? Like in addition to this, the standard educational tools, to be conversant with the specs, in relation to this sustainable design. I think now in the course curriculums in architecture that's happening, and that is already, as far as I know, it is included into the curriculum, so that any architect, when they qualify, they are aware, they are sensitive to these issues, and in time to come in their designs, eventually those aspects will reflect. You don't have to make a special effort to do that. But whereas it was a process, I should say, perhaps when these things came into the picture, architects had to do it consciously. But right now the trend is changing, so I think it's a good sign. Right.
So you're saying that now architects are sort of intuitively incorporating those elements into their designs, and it's become sort of the norm now to include those things.
In fact, now if you really look at our history, or even our regional history, I would say sustainability had been an integral part of our way of life, designs, or any structure that we had. So again, we are trying to recreate that. I should say perhaps in a more technical, more scientific way, and at the same time we are using the technology to our advantage today. I think that's what we are doing now.
So these concepts are some things that have been part of our culture for a long time, but we are learning it as a science now and applying it as sort of
take even ancient kings, they built all these great reservoirs and they collected the rainwater. We are now having something called rainwater harvesting, but they already did it.
Of course.
And it's worldwide known that our reservoirs are very famous, you see.
Alright, so all of these concepts have been there, but now there is a big tagline and a big name that goes with it, but it's something that we've been practicing for a while now.
Yeah, that's one aspect, but at the same time I would say, I'll put it this way, because now take 300, 400 years ago, things would have been different, but take the global scenario with after this industrial revolution, new technologies came into being, and at the same time people had different aspirations for life, for improved ways of life. So for that people were looking for the jobs in the industrial fields, so people were coming to the cities. So these created a different set of problems, different set of challenges. So I think with this there had been a population growth. So those will have, when you have the growth of the population, increase of population, you have different demands like human settlements, right, houses and so on. In such a situation, all these issues became complex.
Yes, right. If I could interrupt you there, so sorry, but if we go into the challenges that you mentioned, what we're facing right now are things like global warming and climate change and sea level rising. We've all heard about these news flashes coming in from everywhere, but how do these things relate to sustainability?
Actually, if I am to answer this question, building sector compared to all the other sectors responsible for this issue, actually if you take for example global warming, it's mainly due to greenhouse gas emissions. If you take building sector, it's mainly responsible to 40% of the CO2 emissions. On the other hand, in terms of energy consumption, that means non-renewable energy, building sector again approximately 35 to 40% consumption is from the building sector. At the same time, resources wise, if you take all the resources that we are using for the construction activity, and of course again it's a matter of 40, and again 40% is basically for the construction industry. Likewise, all these particular resources and what is available around us basically consumed in large scale by the construction industry. Therefore, the building sector is mainly responsible, for this particular issue.
So it is an issue that has to be addressed. I mean, these are large figures, but right now we're going to go for a small commercial break. We'll be right back on Good Morning Sri Lanka with more on how you can really implement these eco-friendly designs into any new constructions that you're doing and any new homes or buildings that you're planning on doing. So this is valuable information that we're giving out. So do stay with us here on Good Morning Sri Lanka.